The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, has announced exemptions from its controversial 4% free on-board import charge to ease pressure on manufacturers and other critical sectors of the economy. Ajayi Adewale, the Comptroller General of the NCS, announced that manufacturers bringing in raw materials, machines and spare parts will not have to pay the levy provided they fall under Chapters 98 and 99 of Nigeria's customs tariff. Meanwhile, manufacturers not yet captured under the tariff chapters will also be onboarded in a fast-tracked process led by the Federal Ministry of Finance, the NCS and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, and payments already made by firms awaiting onboarding will be retained as credit for future customs transactions, the Customs DG said. Joining us on the show to discuss the joint agreement between MAN and the Nigeria Customs Service on the implementation of the 4% FOB charge by the service is Segun Ajayi-Kadir, Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. Good morning, and you're most welcome to the morning show.
Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, well...
Good morning, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Well, you fought, you won. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria said they didn't want 4% free on-board charge. Okay, I argue that under Incoterms, FOB, charges are recognized by international chambers of commerce, but you've won. So you are here this morning to say thank you to the Nigerian Customs Service, I imagine. And to say thank you for listening to us. Thank you for, removing the FOB 4% charge, which Manufacturer Association of Nigeria, NASIMA, all of you in that space, I said will be passed on to consumers, and that you do not think that that is a good idea. Okay, please go ahead and thank Customs Service for listening to you.
For having me on your show. I think that what happened at the engagement we had, which we actually called a family meeting, was for us to re-examine the impact that the 4% FOB would have. You will recall that we indicated it will add about 186% to the cost of import. And once that happens to your raw materials, machines, and spare parts, it's bound to increase your costs. And because you need to produce and make profit, you needed it to be passed on to the consumer. So what we basically had was an engagement for us to examine from both sides why we will need to exclude this sector, this vital sector, from paying that. So essentially, we are going to revert to what we used to pay. And our principal objection was actually the rate. 1% CISS is very close to 1% FOB. Happened is a situation where our costs will go much higher than what we are having before. So we are grateful to the Nigeria Customs Service and also the readiness of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister for the Economy to examine the wider implications for the economy and to provide the atmosphere that enabled our joint action. What we are now looking forward to is for the three of us, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Nigeria Customs Service, and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, for us to facilitate the onboarding of manufacturers on Chapter 98 and 99, so that all those who import these three items that we've mentioned will be onboarded and they will be free from paying the exorbitant rate, 4% FOB.
I thank you so much, Mr. Ajayi-Kadir. Now, beyond or besides the FOB, what a number of manufacturers might say is that one of the things that makes running business difficult and expensive are the different charges and taxes that they have to pay. We've won this victory with regards to FOB. Which other ones would you like to make a case for? Because what we're pushing for is to see the manufacturing sector in Nigeria thrive, provide an enabling environment for your members to thrive. What other areas are you concerned about?
Okay. Thank you very much. Because even customs about facilitating trade and resolving the issue of bodogu and all of that, and we have agreed on a platform for engagement.
Mr. Ajayi-Kadir. Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, all right. Okay, so we will reconnect with him very shortly. I'm trying to establish contact with Mr. Segun Ajayi-Kadir. I recall that we had the president and also the DG come to speak about the FOB 4% that will be paid by manufacturers themselves, and ultimately that cost being passed on to consumers, and also how we would shore up or increase the cost of running business for the manufacturers, and how they'd appeal to customs and the Ministry of Finance to shelve the plan to introduce the 4% charge. But now we see victory has been achieved by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, who've advocated for this. And the question I'd asked you, Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, was around other areas that ought to be looked into to strengthen the MAN's operations in Nigeria, manufacturers' operations in Nigeria.
Well, okay. Is he back with us?
Yes, he's back.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Ajayi-Kadir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Right,
I heard you all the while.
Oh, yeah. Right. We couldn't hear you. I think your network connection was a bit frazzled, but please go ahead.
All right. So thank you. I was saying that we needed to ensure that manufacturers, you don't put too much pressure on this sector. For instance, what we are having, the labor due to Dangote now, is unwarranted. And it's sending shockwaves to the industries. If we thought it was only going to be the regulatory agencies, now we are having organizations like Pengasa and so on that are actually putting obstacles on the way of your operations. And this is not helpful. Part of the issues that we have thought that we are going to go past is a situation where every player, particularly those that are not government, will realize the enormity of the challenges that we have now and be responsible in the way we disrupt the stability that we have. We have seen the CBN starting to deal with the rate issues, no increase, even some minor reduction. That is the progression that we seek. We want an understanding from everyone, the regulatory agencies, even the NEC and the DISCOs. We want everyone that has activities that impact the economy, for them to be reasonable and for us to know the enormity, like I said, of the challenges that we have. Manufacturers, for instance, are still borrowing at above 30%. There is nothing you can produce and be profitable and be able to scale if you borrow at that rate. So these rates that the CBN have done fantastic job, thank you, but it needs to go down the more. And we need to be able to open other windows for them to be able to have access to credit. We also need to continue to work on power. As it is, the band A that we have all seen that it is not essentially a very helpful one, and is partly responsible for the reason why we cannot sell our goods, because we have been forced, for those who can still afford to pay and have not been able to switch to alternative sources of energy, our prices have had to go up. And its effect is contributing to the 2 trillion of unsold inventory that we currently have. We also need that government should intensify efforts in curing the insecurity that we have, particularly in the Northeast, because our companies that are closed, all attempts for us to engage with the governors and also to ensure that we facilitate their comeback is not proving to be very successful. So I think fantastic job we are told the military are doing, but they need to step up. Free our logistics, and those who have departed the factories and those who have abandoned the area where they produce should be able to go back and produce. Happily, we engage with the customs about our readiness for the AFCFTA. Because I had a recent engagement with my colleagues under the Pan-African Manufacturers Association across Africa. Everybody is getting ready to explore the market. And everybody is looking to Nigeria to put its goods. This is the time for Nigeria to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We have helped so many African countries, liberating them, supporting them, and so on and so on. Now we need to be able to export our products to those places. And now our readiness has to be enhanced. There has to be collaboration between the government and the private sector for us to have market access and be able to have market intelligence that will support us. Our export process to be improved upon. Like I said in this, our exports expire in the process of trying to export because there are more than 15 processes that you need to go through for you to be able to export. And we want to be led by export production. So I believe that there are quite a number of challenges that we need to overcome, even as the economy is stabilizing.
Okay. I want to ask you a quick question. As the new tax law is coming into effect in the new year, what are some of the multiple taxes that hurt you that is still in that new tax law?
Okay, so first I want to say that the new tax law is music to us. We know that it is not, there's no perfect law anywhere, but we were part and parcel, well, we are part of the process that led to the emergence of the tax laws. The only issue that we had hoped to see that we didn't eventually see is the reduction in the company income tax, which we thought should come down to 25% in keeping with global trends, but it was retained at 30%. So, I mean, that was really a major disappointment for us. But you see, we are part of the process, and we are hoping that government will soon see the reason, because like I said, the law is still subject to amendment. We are hoping that we'll be able to see this reduction in the future. But by and large, the tax law is very pro-production. It is going to help particularly the small and medium-scale enterprises, which we have said should not be taxed, and that they should be allowed to scale and get to a level where they will be able to effectively pay tax. They will have compliance will be a lot easier. And it will help a lot of people to onboard and to scale, because there are quite a number of very innovative provisions in the Act. I mean, for VAT, for instance, we are very happy that we are now able to claim.
Mr. Ajayi-Kadir.
Yes.
Now, very quickly, you are DG Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. One of your members, Dangote Refinery, is having an issue with is it Dapman, Pengasan, Nupeng, and NLC is even threatening to go on strike to enter the matter. What is your position, or what is the position of man on this attack on one of your prominent members? Very briefly.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. The attack is unconscionable, it's unreasonable, and should be condemned by everyone. Because, I mean, look, it just appears as if the vultures are gathering to devour what should be a jewel of Nigerian manufacturing. There is no way I will build a factory with 20 billion and I will allow it to be decimated. And there is a labor issue you have with an organization, deal with it. There are processes of law, but you are shutting down the country just because you have a disagreement. And this arose when a letter for checkoff was, checkoff pay or whatever it is that the labor union will require a company to pay on behalf of his workers, that we are having all this shenanigans. I think that government should step in and we should ensure the rule of law. I'm told that there's a court injunction and they should obey it. Because you cannot shut down an economy and you cannot disincentivize private sector investment, because everyone is watching. How will anyone who sees what has been done to Dangote now want to come into this country and invest big? And that is what an economy like Nigeria needs. So I believe that it is wrong, and the labor unions should please keep their sword apart and let us have dialogue to be able to resolve the matter. There is no way you can browbeat organizations to do your will.
Okay.
I mean, it's a disruption. Dangote's entry in this is a disruption, and they should be able to negotiate their ways with Dangote. You can't force anybody to do this kind of a thing, and it should be condemned.
Thank you so much for your statement on that. Thank you. We look forward to seeing that matter being resolved, and of course the concerns you've shared on this show also receiving urgent attention.